So the stock market's been absolutely ripping higher with the Nasdaq up almost 30% off of the April 8th low. And if you're like most investors, you want to make money in this market, but you're worried that you might be too late, you're worried that the move already came. So I'm going to show you 3 charts right now that pretty much predicted every single stock market crash, every single stock market boom, going all the way back to 1985. I'm going to show you these charts right now. I'm pretty excited to make this video for you guys. I think you're going to get a lot of value from this. So let's dive in. All right, so let's go straight into chart number 1. And by the way, we're going to start on the least important of the 3 charts to the most important of the 3 charts. So you have to stick around until chart number 2 and chart number 1, because it's not really going to make sense if we just look at this chart right here and I say, okay, this is what you should do with the stock market. So the red line corresponds to the S&P 500 and the blue lines correspond to the price earnings ratio level of the S&P 500 if it was trading at that blue line level. And I know that we talked about this chart on this channel before, but we just got a very, very, very important update on this chart that not many people even noticed to look at. So we're going to break that down. So the reason why we care about the price earnings ratio level is because it's one of the single best metrics to get a valuation level on a stock or an ETF. So typically speaking, when the price earnings ratio level is high, that typically means that the stock is expensive or the ETF is expensive, but it could also mean that the profits of the companies are growing like crazy. And when the growth is going up like crazy, a higher valuation level, a higher PE ratio is justified in that example. So right now we are expecting more growth to come from AI and from tech, but there's other sectors of the market that are not growing as well. And that gets factored into the S&P 500, which actually could be a big problem. So let's just take a bird's eye view of this and then we'll dive into it a little bit deeper. So you can see right now we're trading near a 22 PE ratio for the S&P 500, and we've only seen a level this high once right here. Right here, it wasn't quite 22, it was about 21, but the last time that we see a price earnings ratio level this high was back in 1999. And keep in mind, this goes all the way back to 1985. So it's not like we're just looking at, a 5-year period here. This goes all the way back to 1985. This is 40 years of data right here. So it's a lot. Now, if we look at the chart and we notice a trend, let's start on the other side of the equation where valuations were cheap. If we look at what happened after the great financial crisis where the price earnings ratio was down near a level of 10, you could see what the market did going forward for the next, 10, 15, 20 years going into right now. The market just ripped higher. We made a massive move, and yes, there was volatility along the way, but the trend is clearly up. And you could see going all the way to the left coming into the early 1990s, we had a very low PE ratio on the S&P 500 down here to level of 10 again. And you could see from roughly 1991 all the way to 2000, so roughly 9 years, the market absolutely ripped higher. And it wasn't so much because the earnings went up from the companies. It's because we had price earnings ratio expansion, because we went from a PE ratio level of 10 all the way to a PE ratio level of 25. So that technically indicates that the stock market went up 2.5x just from a price earnings ratio expansion basis. Yes, earnings went up a little bit, but the main reason why the market went up is because we had multiple expansion. That's price earnings ratio expansion. This number went way up on the price earnings ratio level. We get that. But if we look at the time period that we're at right now, think about it. I mean, we're at a very high valuation level, historically speaking, and I'm not saying we're going to have this big market crash, and chart number 2 and chart number 1 are going to make this clear what's going to happen in the market, but just by looking at this chart right here, it honestly doesn't look good. Like I said, the last time we saw a level this high was 1999, because how much more price earnings ratio expansion can we have? I mean, we've never seen the S&P 500 go over a level of 25, so it's like the only growth that we should be expecting in the market going forward is what the earnings per share is actually going to grow at. There's really no room for multiple expansion right now. And the big issue with this is that if earnings don't grow as fast as we expect, the market's going to go way down, because pretty much like perfection is priced into the market right now. And when we're counting all of our chickens before they hatch, we're counting all of our eggs right now. And if we don't get all those chickens to hatch, the market has perfection priced in and it will go lower. And I'm not trying to sound like Mr. Bear right now. I'm just telling you that a lot is priced into this market right now. And I do think that future upside, strictly based off of this one chart right here, it's not going to be as good as what you think. There's a lot of euphoria. There's a lot of people that made a lot of money off that April 8th dip. And a lot of those people are coming into the market with a lot of confidence, a lot of conviction, because they said, I made a bunch of money off the April 8th dip. I'm smart. I'm a genius. And I'm going to go buy calls on Circle right now, whatever the hot stock is. And they're honestly probably going to get wiped out. So I would say the key takeaway from this chart is that the market is expensive. It's not a bubble, but it is definitely expensive. And chart number 2 and chart number 1 are going to put a little bit more color behind this as to how to interpret this a little bit better. All right, so this is chart number 2, and I was honestly debating making this chart number 1 because this is the sleeper chart that not many people really understand, and they don't really understand why this matters so much. So let me explain this right now, and then we'll go into chart number 1, which really explains everything, and then we'll be done with this video because there's a lot of stuff to talk about still. I really want you guys to stick around till the end. So you could see coming out of COVID, inflation went pretty much straight up. And this is Consumer Price Index, by the way, that's CPI. This is one of the key things to look at for the level of inflation. So as inflation pretty much went straight up out of COVID, what did the Federal Reserve have to do? They had to raise interest rates. And what happens when the Fed raises interest rates? Well, just think about it. Interest rates go up. Very simple, right? Your credit card interest rate goes up, your mortgage interest rate goes up, interest rates on your cars go up, pretty much interest rates on everything go up. But that is not the whale in the room. That is not the elephant in the room. That's not the needle mover. The big thing that matters is that as interest rates go up, the bond yield goes up. And there's a big issue with the bond yield going up. And it's this idea that money always wants to find the best risk-adjusted return. So if we just assume that the S&P 500 does 10% per year, we understand that, that's great. But imagine if you could get 10% per year in a bond, where are you going to put your money? Are you going to risk it in the stock market, or are you going to get that guaranteed rate of return of 10% in a bond? Most investors, including myself, we would put our money into the bond and get that 10% guaranteed rate of return as long as the US government does not default on its debt, which honestly, if they do default, we're going to have bigger problems than money. So don't worry about that aspect right now. So you can see there's that dynamic of where do I put my money? Where do I get the best risk adjusted return? So as the Federal Reserve was raising interest rates, bond yields went from 1% to 2% to 3%, and now they're hovering around 4.5%. And that puts downside pressure on the stock market because investors are now debating, well, do I want to risk it and maybe get 10% per year in the stock market because the valuation is a little bit high? I have to worry about this Iran and Israel stuff. I have to worry about a recession. I have to worry about inflation. I have to worry about whatever's going on in the stock market, and I don't really want to have to deal with that stuff. The typical investor is going to say, I'll take the 4.5% guaranteed, and then I'll sit on the sidelines and just wait until the stock market dips, and then I'll deploy my capital back in there. And I totally get it, and I'm not saying there's really anything wrong with doing that right now. But here's the key thing. Yes, interest rates dictate what the stock market's going to do. It's kind of like gravity. So as inflation comes down, the Federal Reserve is now going to be more confident to cut interest rates, and as they cut interest rates, the bond yields are going to go down. And when bond yields go down, the typical investor is going to say, the bond yield's not really worth it to get 2% per year. I'm going to go put my money into the stock market. So it's very critical to watch what inflation does because this pretty much dictates what the Federal Reserve interest rates are going to be set at. If inflation goes up, expect interest rates to be higher for longer. But if inflation goes down, expect interest rates to go down too. So the key takeaway from this chart is this. I'm in the camp that inflation is going to keep trending down with time. Yes, it's going to be a little bit bumpy, but we are very close to the Fed's 2% target. We're at 2.4% right now, and we were all the way up at 9%. So we made a lot of progress in this time period. So as inflation continues to come down, and as we get this tariff stuff priced out of the market and we see if it really makes inflation come back or not, I'm confident that the Fed is going to lower interest rates. And when they do that, that is bullish for the stock market. So by looking at the first chart, things appear to be a little bit expensive. But now that we break down this chart, it's kind of like, oh, well, inflation is probably going to go down and interest rates are probably going to go down. So it's not really as bad as what people think. So chart number 1 is going to be critical to understand. And we're going to build off of chart number 3 and this chart right here to get a full consensus of how we feel about the market right now and where we expect it to go going forward. So here we go. So if I was forced to look at one single chart and make all my investment decisions based off of that, which of course I wouldn't want to do that, but if I was forced to do that, I would hands down pick this chart right here. And I've talked about this chart on this channel before, but we did recently get some very important updates on this chart also. So let me explain this to you. So the lighter line corresponds to the S&P 500 stock price, and the darker line corresponds to the forward 12 months earnings per share of the S&P 500. And as we talked about many times on this channel, the number one thing that moves the price of a stock or an ETF in the long run is what the earnings per share growth does. If earnings per share goes up, expect the stock to go up. But if earnings per share goes down, expect that stock to go down. So this chart goes all the way back to 2015 and it goes to current, so it's roughly a 10-year chart. And the critical thing to understand here, and I can't stress this enough, so you really have to stick around till I finish up this chart to really understand what really matters here, because it's going to click here for you. It's going to click really good. The stock price of the S&P 500 typically will follow what the earnings per share growth does. So this is the S&P 500 price on the y-axis, and it's changing on a percentage basis. And this is the earnings per share of the S&P 500 on the y-axis also, and it's doing the same percentage basis for the price and for the earnings per share. So in the long run, we should expect these two lines to follow each other. So in a period like this, you can see the earnings per share is higher than what the actual stock price is, and in period that we're in right now, you could see that the stock price is actually higher than what the earnings per share is. So if we were to just keep this extremely simple and say, when should I buy and when should I sell? This would be a time to buy when the stock market is cheap. This would be a time to sell when the stock market's expensive. And this would be a time to sell when the stock market's expensive also. But the key thing that's happening right now that's keeping most investors optimistic and supporting this higher valuation level is this tech and AI revolution that's happening. And a lot of investors are very euphoric. They're very excited. They think the market's going to keep going higher. They think that the productivity gains, the earnings per share, it's going to all go way up. And yes, I do agree with all that. But how much of that is already priced into the stock market right now? How much of that is already realized in the current share prices? If you ask me, I think a lot of that is already priced in, and that's how you could see this big distance right here between the S&P 500 price and what the actual forward earnings per share are going to be. So I'm not saying it's a bubble. I'm not saying to sell everything. I am just saying to not have a lot of leverage option exposure right now. I am very, very bullish on the stock market in the long run, but on the short term, I think it's time to be cautious. I think it's time to take profits on some certain option trades that you have that maybe they ran up a lot. Maybe the stock is overvalued. Maybe you don't like the stock. Maybe you don't have conviction. I think that right now is a good time to trim and take a little bit of profits. So overall, 5-year time horizon longer, I am extremely bullish. Anything less than 5 years, I'm being very, very careful. But there still is deals. There's still AMD. There's still TSM. There's still Meta. There's still NVIDIA. I still think those companies are trading below intrinsic value and they're still buys right now. But companies like Tesla, companies like Palantir, companies like SoFi and Circle, those companies are all very, very expensive right now. So the opportunity is to potentially sell puts and buy calls on the companies I said first that are cheap. And then you want to buy puts and sell calls on the companies that are expensive. And if all that sounds like mumbo jumbo to you, watch this video right here. It's 20 minutes long. It's a raw video of me breaking down my option strategy. It's going to help you guys out a lot. Don't even click it if you don't have 20 minutes, but if you have 20 minutes to focus and understand it, it's going to completely change your life. And I'll see you guys there.